this computer. There we go.
Oh, it's going.
Yep.
All right, let's lead it off, guys.
I guess that's me. I have to put my glasses on so I can read.
Well,
all right,
yeah,
back.
Somebody has to go. We're in dead air time here. Welcome to Trimming the Fat.
Trimming the Fat, episode 7. So today we're going to tackle some of the first most asked questions, or the fifth most asked questions, as our poet laureate Corey wrote here, when starting your weight loss journey. So
we'll have to edit that later. Don't worry about that.
It's all good, man. It's all good. It's Sunday where we're doing it live. That's the beauty of it. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. I mean, I think that when everyone starts their weight loss journey, there's a lot of questions you may have. And I know that a lot of people don't, for some reason, they're not going to do the legwork themselves. They want someone to tell them all the answers to these questions. They're not going to do the research. So let's tackle some of those today. But I guess first we'll do some quick intros like we always do. I'm Adam with Fat the Chubby. Kick off, well, and until May 10th, I'll be doing not live videos because I got banned from doing Facebook Live for posting some really hilarious memes in 2018. So I'll be recording some videos and trying to post them around 9 a.m. on Mondays, just kind of cataloging things I've touched on during my weight loss journey. Luke.
I am Luke. I am the host of the Luke Loses podcast. I talk about my weight loss journey and my mental struggles that come with it. I do some interviews here and there. Yeah. Corey?
I'm Corey. I run Life is Reality YouTube channel. I talk on here a lot. I'm the guy who tries to figure out the tech side of things. So also the guy who misspells everything as well. So anyways, let's lead it off, guys. Where are we at today? We're answering questions.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that's watching live wants to get up on the chat and ask questions, please do so. But I think kind of jumping in, I mean, there's a lot of myths. There's a lot of things that people hear every day about weight loss and the journey and starting it off. How do I, I guess tackle those food cravings? How do I, change my diet to lose weight and stuff like that? So I think that, I guess one of the questions is that diet programs often say you should eat more slowly. Does this really help with weight loss? How would you answer that, Corey?
I would say, yeah, eating slowly does quite a few different things, and there's a lot of scientific basis to it. But the biggest thing is giving your body time to actually know that you need to stop eating. So knowing that, when you're digesting that, it takes a little while for your body to catch up and realize that you've eaten enough.
Luke?
Yeah, I agree with that. Every time I've tried, one of my big issues is I eat super fast. Like today, my wife and I, we went to a smoothie joint, and I was like halfway done, and she barely had any of it gone from hers. And she pointed that out. With me, I'm a binge eater. So she's like, even if it's that one time a day that you're eating, the first time you're eating or whatever, binging it is binging it no matter when you're doing it. And I've always felt when I do slow down, when I do take my time to eat, I do feel that full feeling, which I don't get that when I go at it pretty hard and just eat real fast, because then I don't get full and I eat more.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Both what you're saying as well. I mean, I think that a lot of it it's true. For me, water was a big deal, right? So for me, it's like every time I thought I was hungry, I was really dehydrated. So a lot of times I would drink a glass of water and wait 10 or 20 minutes before I ate. Or when I sat down to eat, I would drink a bottle of water, and I drink a bottle of water during the meal. And if not two, and then one afterwards. Sorry, my 4-year-old's over here hanging out.
That's all right.
And but I think that for me, water helped me not only get more hydrated and hit that gallon a day, but also, really help me slow down my eating. Because I was the same way. Like I was so hungry all the time. I just wanted to eat, and I would inherently binge eat as well. So I mean, I would just eat, and then okay, what's next? Let's keep going. I want to keep eating. I didn't want to do it slow. I wanted to taste all the things now.
Right.
Right.
And when we do that, we just speed through the entire process. Even breaking down the food digestively, a lot of people think that it's, just eating fast, but it actually starts, your saliva starts excreting certain things, starts breaking the food down, and starts an entire process that prepares the rest of the body. And when you rush that, the same as, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, like where a lot of people start seeing failures or issues on going on a smoothie or a shake style diet, is that food's already broke down to a certain point and it's skipping that process that you need of chewing your food. So
Yeah.
slowing down, like I said, there's a lot of information there and a lot of stuff out there to help people. Slowing down the time that you take to eat really does help in the long run, as far as feeling satiated, feeling full, and your body actually being able to work how it's supposed to digest the food.
Right. And you said it earlier. I mean, when you eat too fast, it doesn't let your brain and your stomach talk, and your stomach go back to your brain and say, "Hey, I'm full." By the time you get to that, you're already past what you need. I mean, and Luke, I mean, what you said in the past too, by eating what normal people eat, as far as the correct portion sizes, you're probably 2 or 3 times past that. But
Yep.
yeah, again, I mean, yes, you should definitely slow down, eat slowly, drink more water, and just take your time and enjoy the food. But I think that a lot of us eat really, really fast because we are dehydrated and we need more water to begin with.
Right.
So, yeah.
So
All right.
what's our next question?
All right. How do I figure out how many calories I should be eating?
That's a good question. That's a real good
Yeah,
question.
I would agree.
Luke,
I figured mine out by my fitness pal because I had no idea where to start.
that's probably a really good spot to start, as an
Yep.
online calculator or an app calculator or something. At least getting an idea of where it's at. I know I've always suggested, once you figure that out, once you get that number, it's always nice to look at what it would be, or something I've always done or have done in the past is I'll look at, I'm 5'6" with my platform shoes on, and I want to weigh, 180 pounds. How many calories do I need to be eating a day to sustain that? And I think the first time that I did that, looking at that number was kind of a shock and a surprise of how little I actually needed to do to, be at a weight where technically is still on the edge of obese or overweight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same. I used my fitness pal and that calculated it. And I also recently I went to a website that you put in your weight, your height, your age, and your male or female, and it would tell you what, and you put in there your activity level. So if you're no activity level, it's this, and it shows you what you would be at depending on your activity level. And it was I think maybe like within 3 or 4 calories off than my fitness pal. I know there are professional ways to get checked to see what your caloric intake should be to your body at rest, but I've never done that. And it like I said, the internet and the MyFitnessPal works really well. One thing I did hear, I don't know if it's true or not. I'm going to ask you guys right here. Someone told me if you want to be 200 pounds, you should eat 2,000 calories. If you want to be 250 pounds, you should eat 2,500 calories.
I'm going to throw something out there. Not every calorie is the same. Um, I think having that as a guideline, or as, I wouldn't even say a guideline, as a starting view of things is great. But I think just using the word calorie can be too open-ended. There's a big difference between certain quality of calories, certain quality of food, and stuff like that. Also, 200 pounds at 2,000 calories, I think, again, you're trying to narrow it down too much. because if you're a woman, it's going to react differently. How much muscle mass a person has of lean muscle and stuff will react differently on how the calories burn. So you can get into a state, even to a point of how much mental activity a person has burns calories. So you got to take all that into account. So I think a direct generalization is okay in quick speaking or in, just common blanket statement, but in the long run, I think there's too many variables there that will, you know, mess things up, that people shouldn't get stuck on that 2000 calories, because if you are sitting all day long, you're doing absolutely nothing, and you have absolutely no muscle mass built up whatsoever, your calories that your body's going to naturally burn is a lot fewer than somebody who's extremely active. So to stay at that level, or to aim for that, would be could lead somebody astray, I think.
Yeah, and my question to that is that, did someone tell you that is like, if you want to gain weight, like if you're putting on weight, you want to get to 200 pounds, you eat 2000 calories a day, or 2500 to get to 250? Because I mean that'd be great, but I think like physically, like there's no way I could ever be 200 pounds. I'd have to like chop off my leg. So
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
I don't.
when it was brought up, we were just talking about caloric intake, and that's what they said. So like my end goal is 250, and they were saying, just add 2 zeros to, or yeah, 2 zeros or whatever to your goal weight, and that's where it would be. I don't know about gaining, but like I said, for me, my caloric intake right now is like 2518 or something like that. Is
Yeah.
what it says I should be to lose 2 pounds a week
Yeah,
with
I
my
always
activity.
I always tried to aim for like 2000, 2200, just to get down to where I'm at 280. Right. When I started at who knows what, but I think when I finally clocked in, I was like at 360 ish. And that's what my fitness pal told me. It was always like 2200. And I always try to start my day with fasted cardio, to even if I did want to binge a little bit, I had that little buffer in there, and I can still kind of still stay at 2200 a day. But I think but that might be like one of those old school rules of thumb, right? So I think that if you, in all reality, I mean, if you had, again, if you had really good calories, 2000 really good calories, 2500 really good calories, like a protein rich diet, lots of veggies and fruit, then that would definitely work. But I think most people, when they're getting in this journey, they're like, 2000 calories, that means I can go to XYZ fast food place and have burger, fries, and a Coke, and that's all I eat for the day. But I can still get that, double bacon, right? And that large
Yeah.
fries and a chocolate shake. When really you should be eating, is a tray full of veggies and chicken and a banana. So that's just,
Right.
but I think that it's something you learn along the way. My fitness pal for me was huge in that, because I put stuff in there that I thought was really healthy, and it turns out it was not healthy at all. Like before we started, it's like, and I mentioned this, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, but like I remember going to Red Robin on a business lunch, and I was like, I'll get the wrap. And the wrap was way worse than a burger and fries. And that's just, I mean, there's, my fitness pal really helped me see that, just because it was there. The macros were there, but the caloric intake was there in general. So there's something to
Yeah.
work around.
For me, I get, like, I feel like I'm doing good, so I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna go and get this, and then I'll add it to my fitness pal later, and then I'll eat the meal, and then I'll look on my fitness pal, and I'm like, are you kidding me? That was 900 calories. So yeah, definitely. So if you do use one of those apps, I highly recommend checking it out before you order that food or before you make that meal.
Well,
Right.
I think,
It's a big
I think that's,
surprise.
yeah, but that's part of it though. You have to learn that about you and about your diet, about what's going on with you. I mean, I remember when my mom was going through it before she had her weight loss surgery, she preached my fitness pal, and I wasn't hearing it because I wasn't ready to hear it, right? But then once I started getting into it, and I was like, holy, same thing. I had the same reactions, like things I thought were like decently healthy were not even in the realm of being healthy. I mean, it was like what I thought was a healthy meal was really what I should be eating total calories for the day.
Yeah.
It's insane. I mean, just
Right.
the crap that's out there should be illegal, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
But you can get a McDouble for $1 and a salad costs you 12. So what are you gonna do?
Spend $12.
Well, that's what you should. No, you should go to the grocery store and just make it your damn self. That's the whole
Right.
point.
No
You should be
doubt.
cooking at home. That's I guess that's another myth we can bust real quick. It doesn't take that long to cook food at home if you're smart about it, if you know what you're doing. Or I mean, there's plenty of things you could eat raw or buy. If you buy stuff out of a can, you can rinse it off and rinse all the preservatives out, hopefully, and you can make a quick salad, for $5 or $10 in the next 3 or 4 days if you do it right.
Well, and that kind of opens up the door for another question that was brought up earlier today while we were messaging back and forth is meal prep.
Yeah.
I have my own personal opinion on meal prep, and I'm going to start off with saying that meal prep is fantastic and works awesome unless it doesn't, and then it's absolutely horrible.
Dude, that's the truest thing ever. I mean, that's just it. I mean, for some people, it works. I'm not one of those people. Like I can't eat the same thing every day in the week. I don't care how much hot sauce I have. I just can't do it.
Right.
I need more variety than that. So
Mrs. Dash, that's what saves me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Mrs.
She's got
Dash
like
is
30
awesome.
different flavors.
I should turn the
and
camera around and show you the seasonings that I have around me all the time. Talk about seasoning. But
yeah. But
no,
but see, you've had a restaurant though, but like for John Q. Public, I think Mrs. Dash is 100% the way to go because
yeah,
because they're
definitely.
they're all low sodium. They're sugar. I think they're sugar free too, and you can have like chipotle or lemon pepper or whatever it is, and
onion and herb. It's one that I have all the time. No, I'm 100% Mrs. Dash. I have a ton of it. It's great, easy, simple, and all kinds of stuff. But food prep, I think, where for me personally, doesn't work, especially in the sense of I'm going to prepare this much and I'm going to have these meals here. I think it's great for people to get in the habit of knowing how much food to have. And we touched on this with like the mail order food and stuff, not the mail order bride. That was a different episode. But
with all your bands and ropes and chains.
Exactly. So anyways, let's not get too far off topic yet. But knowing those sizes and stuff, I think is great. Our meal prep, or when everything is running perfect, is not necessarily meals itself, but base foods. So there's a stuff that it's called broil that is, a bunch of grains and black lentils cooked into, this bland paste, or not necessarily a paste, but it's a very textured mix of things. And you can turn it kind of towards breakfast stuff. You can turn it kind of towards a meat replacement. You can throw it in chili. You can put it on salad. You can do a lot of things with it. And it's extremely high in fiber, fairly, straight on the calories. Everything's just kind of a good little base. And having those things always ready and on hand that you can take this, and this of however you feel like and make it. So our meal prep isn't necessarily I'm preparing a meal. Our meal prep is preparing ahead of time our 7-8 different core things, or that we have available that we can make 30 different meals with.
Right. But see,
that's how I do it. I make a bunch of chicken and a bunch of rice, and then I make other meals throughout the week, like whatever 3-4 days. What can I mix in with that?
Yeah, you guys are lucky in that sense, where it seems like your kids and your family's on board with it. I mean, Kelly mentioned it in the comments as well, that she struggles with her 6-year-old, and I know my son who's 4. There's no way in hell he's going to eat the same thing. He wants his dino nuggets and his mac and cheese. But I think that as long as you have self-control not to eat all those leftovers, which that's the one thing that I definitely struggle with, because I like dino nuggets as well. For me, I think with, when you're dealing with, my wife's on board with what's going on, she tends to eat healthier anyway, so it wasn't a struggle for me to get her to help be my cheerleader in my journey. But with kids, it's definitely something to consider when you're making that kind of stuff. And I think, Corey, your girls probably grew up eating like that, so they're more accustomed to it. Whereas most people, when you switch gears from going to McDonald's to eating super healthy, the kids don't really cater to that too much. So you have to figure out how to, I guess, segue them. And I think getting them into like healthier foods, maybe going from the deep fried nuggets to the big nuggets to something else, and getting him eating more chicken. It's great, but it's double-edged sword. Like my son loves chicken, but now he's to the point where he doesn't want the crust on it, the good fried goodness, which isn't a
Right.
bad thing.
Well, I think some of that is you got to look at why are kids eating what they're eating? It's certain flavors they've grown up to, but also certain textures. And the biggest challenging thing is you got to learn how to cook yourself. You got to learn how to put these foods together in a way. And I know when we switched to whole plant-based, that's, an entirely different textured world. I mean, there's certain things that you cannot recreate easily. The texture of a steak is very, very challenging to do. And if you're craving that, learning how to do things to replicate this or to give that certain texture is a necessity for a kid, because they're eating it to, more than just substance. They still have, I want to say, a connection with everything, with the environment that's going on with them. So, mac and cheese every day after school becomes this habit of mac and cheese every day after school. It's their, building that habit of their de-stressor, their, decompression time or whatever, and being able to change that. And I think, when you first look at it, it's a daunting task. It's very overwhelming to be like, man, my kid just eats chicken nuggets. Okay, that's fine. I can show you how to make tofu, which at first, trust me, I wasn't a fan of tofu, but there's a process that you can take and literally dry it in a sense and squish it and dry it and squish it and dry it. And you can create a textured, layered chicken that then you season properly. It'll take a while for somebody to learn this stuff, but there's ways to do it. But the only way the average person's going to do it is if they're willing to create it in the kitchen themselves, which takes time and takes effort. But you also got to think, how much are you willing to invest in your family? I mean, it's not just your health, it's your family's health. So if your kid is stuck on just having chicken nuggets, guess what? There's a reason why I know how to make tofu this way, is because I have kids that, want this kind of food. And, it's a process. It takes a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know
Some
what?
conditioning.
Yeah, but it's worth the time and the sacrifice to say, I want my kids to eat this way, so I'm going to do whatever I can. And I'm going to spend an extra 45 minutes, twice a week to make sure that that's in there. Now, granted, when we do it, we make it and set it up to where it can be on 4 or 5 different meals that week, kind of a thing, or 4 or 5 different directions. Again, that base core of that prep time of, being able to multitask things.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was
with
checking my
me,
wife
one
out. She
thing
walked in. I got all confused.
I was talking to my nutritionist, and I brought up the fact that my kids do not want to eat, vegetables. Like, I've got one kid that'll eat a bag of apples a day if you let him, but he doesn't want to touch anything green. So
Right.
I was talking with her, and she's telling me, grind them up real small, add them into different things, just so your kid will get the nutrition, whatever, the nutrients that need with those vegetables. And touching back on that again, our kid, we had a doctor's appointment for him, and the doctor was like, asked him if he likes eating healthy foods, and he was like, huh? And she's like, and I'm like, yeah, he eats healthy stuff. And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, carrots and lettuce. And he's like, I'm not a rabbit, I want chicken nuggets. And I'm like, boy, you better shut up. Don't be telling the doctor that.
right? And that's a good thing to, you know, sneak the food in there at times you need to. There's more to it physiologically, you know, is you're there's more to getting used to food than what people realize, and your taste buds actually change about every 2 weeks. There's a constant cell die off, a constant rotation. So if you can shift stuff that direction and realize that it takes a little bit of time and getting it in there, but I find a lot of times it's a texture thing. Like cauliflower is a really great thing to, you know, talk about on that, because you can take cauliflower and you can roast it in the oven and you can get this little chewy texture to it, that little crispness of edges and stuff like that. Or you can take it and make it into a paste and make a crust with it. You can make it into mashed potatoes. You can, you know, soak it in Frank's hot sauce and, you know, make buffalo bites with it. So I think a lot of it, you know, when kids say, I don't eat broccoli. Okay. How many different ways have you tried broccoli? I mean, I have one daughter who eats it 2 ways that will surprise most everybody. She wants it either raw or steamed. That's it. That's how she eats broccoli. Why? I don't know. If you ask the average person, what are the 2 worst ways to eat broccoli? They're going to say raw and steamed. They don't want to eat it that way. But for some reason with her, that's what she wants. So guess what? We have steamed broccoli anytime we can, because she'll literally eat a half a pound of it. And if that's what's going to get her to get the greens, guess what? Everybody else, you're stuck with broccoli. Buck it up.
So I like steamed broccoli. I'm weird like that. And my son does too. So,
yep. And finding those things and triggering them and just taking some time. And I think mom and dad have to be 100% on board for the kids to come on board. They can't see that wavering, you know, do as I say, not as I do thing. It has to be,
right.
Hey, mom and dad are living this way. If you want to keep eating, after 3 days, you'll be hungry enough. You won't care what it tastes like.
And
Yeah,
I'm super guilty about that with my kids. So before I decided to change my diet, my eating habits, I was, like I've talked about before, I was lazy. So I pick up from school and, oh, what do you guys want? You want Taco Bell? You want McDonald's? You want Pizza Hut? What are we going to have tonight? You know, so weekly, my kids were eating out and eating this food that, like we talked about before, makes you crave it. That's made for you to want more of it, instead of eating good foods. And like we talked about a little bit earlier, you know, like if that double cheeseburger you want from McDonald's, get the stuff, make it, and it's going to be, to me, it's better, you know. That's where, you know, I take full responsibility in that, where I was lazy about it, and I trained my kids to eat this junk food constantly.
Right. That's it, man. I mean, and we're definitely responsible for the next generation, and if we can get them on board with that, and I think that, you know, to Corey's point too. I mean, if there's no other options, if you just say, hey, look, this is what we're eating, tough,
Yeah.
and it's, you know, it's a real approach. I mean, that's something that we've got to do with our kids, and you know, they're gonna complain about it, and then, you know, we'll make some adjustments, but at the end of the day, we do like it when you know, Benjamin Dawson wants to eat what we're eating, right? Whether, especially if it's like different things like that. And my wife has him hooked on pickled beets now too, which I think are absolutely disgusting. But I'm like, hey, buddy, if you want them, I'll keep buying them. I will keep buying them all day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And pickled foods is another thing. You'll notice I get back into foods a lot, but pickled foods, if you can get kids to eat pickled foods, are great, because vinegar is really good for us on a lot of levels. So anytime that a child's going to eat something like that, it's all the better for them.
Oh yeah.
Sauerkraut, my wife screams across the room.
Yep. Yeah, but definitely. We again, my wife's also from Iowa, so we made runzas, and people know them as kraut burgers a lot, and my son will eat those all day with sauerkraut.
Yeah.
We had taverns tonight, also known as Sloppy Joe's. He was all about that. And we had pickles and the whole nine. So, you know, it's, I think that the better we do as just as humans, right? So like we're trying to find diversity in our diets. We're trying to find things that are healthier, that taste good. That's not just chicken and rice and broccoli. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but you can't have it every single night. But if we're trying to seek out that same diversity and we get our kids on board with an early age and show them those better habits, or show them it's really not, doesn't take that much time to make a good dinner that's, affordable and delicious. So I think we're on the right track there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. What's the next question? Stop yo-yo dieting. Why is it harder to lose weight each time you gain it back, Corey?
It is harder because every time you go through a process, your body naturally wants to store its riches. And by certain eating habits and going through things, especially certain diets, we restrict so much stuff that when we come off of that, our body does not want to go through that kind of famine again. Some of these diets that you go to, they put you on like a 500 calorie diet restriction for the first 2 weeks and then stage things up and stuff. And yes, you're going to lose weight. But when you come off of doing something like that, all of a sudden your body says, no, I'm going to store everything I can because I don't want to go through a starvation mode again. It's how our body's designed, is to be prepared for the worst capable things. That's also where stress eating and stuff comes in, to where it holds more weight because of the stress situation. So as you yo-yo diet with these things, your body gets used to knowing that, hey, I know I'm going to go through another stress situation because you do this every 3 years, or you do this every January 3rd of each year. I know what you're going to do. I'm going to hold on to it. So you have to feed your needs of your body completely at some point in time. And that's where I'm at. I've yo-yo dieted so much that if I tried doing anything compromising in any way, I don't lose weight. My body's used to it, to where I have to eat enough and enough diversity, like you said a little bit ago, Luke, that I have to have enough diversity of enough nutrition and on a constant basis for my body to finally say, okay, I can get rid of that. I'm in a wealthy, rich state right now to where I don't have to worry about any famine. I don't even count calories. When I start counting calories, I stop losing weight. If I try to restrict down to 1,800 calories, my body's like, whoa, hold on. Whereas if I'm actually feeding, to fill, but only filling with not calorie dense foods, but nutritionally dense foods, lettuce, kale, all your greens, bell peppers, onions, all that good stuff. My body's like, hey, I'm full. I'm happy. We can get rid of some of that fat. We got a good constant going in here. Does that answer it on that side good enough, or did I?
Yeah, I think so. I think one thing to touch too is that I know when people crash diet or yo-yo diet, let's say if you do it like multiple times in a year, there's a couple of risks that I'm aware of. One, you lose a lot of muscle mass, right? So people like, I got to drop 20 pounds before this event. They'll starve themselves and their body will basically eat the muscle first and store everything as fat. So they become like basically a skinnier fat person, even though they're 20 pounds lighter. And then generally you gain all that back plus maybe 10 or 15%. So you've actually reduced your amount of muscle mass and increased your fat mass. Right. So you do that multiple times in the year, you're losing considerable muscle and gaining way more fat than you need to. So then it also puts your heart at risk. So it really, by starving yourself that way, you're really just screwing a lot of things up and putting yourself way behind the eight ball when you finally do decide, okay, now is my time to actually move forward. It's 10 times harder because you lack that muscle and you lack the ability to get yourself up and moving.
Yep, absolutely. And
What you got,
muscles.
Luke?
I'm not gonna touch on the yo-yo because you both did really well, but for me, every time I try to lose weight again, mentally, it drains me because I get in my head about 3 years ago when I lost 100 pounds, And 6 years ago when I lost 100 pounds, and 6 months ago when I lost 30 pounds, you add that, I think, now I'm down 200 plus pounds. Where could I have been if I would have just kept going? So then I get in my head, and then I, emotional eat, and I get upset. And for me, it's so hard to start eating right, because I get in my head and I think about all those times that I've quit when, I could be at my goal weight right now if I would have never stopped.
That's a good
Right.
point, man. I think that anyone, I mean, I think the three of us have talked about this before on air and off, is that if we could go back knowing what we know, right? I think that's the story of life in general, but across the board, if when people start this journey, when it's time for the big journey that we're all on, the important thing is to not stop. I mean, if you have a bad day, if you fall off the wagon, you gain some weight, you binge, whatever, you just got to pick yourself up and keep pushing forward and keep marching towards that goal. Because if you just up and give up, it's just going to be that much harder to start the next time, just like we've all experienced.
Right. And I think that's a great,
Yep.
point, is your goal. You have to have it. And to stop yo-yo dieting, you have to stop dieting.
Yeah.
Just plain and simple. You can't be dieting, because what's going to work long term, or what's going to work, it has to be lifelong. It's a lifestyle, as so many people will preach and beat on. And I know a lot of times that sounds cliche, or it sounds like, wow, that again, really? Yeah, really. It is that simple. Is you have to realize that, like, if I want to be below 200 pounds, I have to live and eat like somebody who's below 200 pounds the rest of my life. It's not a 6-month thing. It's not a, my diet's going to be over come, August, because it's going to be hot and I'm going to want to barbecue. No, it's this, you have to live that way the rest of your life. Granted, you can go out and enjoy yourself once in a while, but overall, your consistency of 98% of your livelihood has to be that goal oriented. Oh, we lost Luke for a little, or
Yeah.
Adam, or whatever. We
No,
lost
Luke,
Luke.
he'll be back. No, that's a really good point though. But I think that one thing that people miss, and I get it a lot from different people, like people hit plateaus, they don't know what to do. But I think what people forget is that you have to be real cognizant of your diet or your lifestyle change, what you're putting in your mouth. And as you lose weight, you have to change those goals, and you've got to alter what you eat. Right. Exactly. And that's where I'm at right now. It's like, I'm like, okay, I'm real comfortable at my current weight. I've been here for a year and a half. I just had my physical. I'm still in great, I still stay on my triglyceride medication, but everything else came back, in right and where it needs to be in range. But I'm always looking at, okay, what do I need to do with food? How can I change this? If I do want to start losing again, how am I going to do that? And I need to retool how I'm feeling myself, just because, my morning bike rides, I now eat when I usually didn't eat when I was fasting, and how am I going to figure that out? But I think that that's just part of the change and part of the journey, is that as you lose weight, you've got to alter your diet and alter your intake and alter. Okay, right now I've been eating a lot of veggies and fruits, but I'm not eating enough protein. Okay, let's up the protein and ratchet down this, and you constantly have to tinker with it. It's I mean, but you're right. I mean, it's something that it's a lifelong journey. It's not just you can do it till August, lose the weight, and be done. Because if you're just done, then you immediately go back to all those bad ways. And that's one thing that I know it's a hot topic across any weight loss support group forum. You go into, when do you weigh yourself? You weigh yourself whenever you damn well feel like it. I mean, it's not like
Right.
once a week, once a day, every 2 weeks, and whatever. I hate these wannabe bullshit trainers getting there like, oh, you should never rank yourself. No, you don't know me. You don't know my journey. I have to weigh myself every single day to keep myself in check. If I don't, I mean, like, I literally weigh myself twice a day. As soon as I get up and use the restroom, I weigh myself. When I get back from my workout, I weigh myself, just because it's now a habit, and this is what I do. And if I don't do it, then it's one of those things where I do that, so I know that that day I've got to keep on this track and keep on this path. And because if I don't do it, I know me. I know me well enough. If I don't weigh myself, I go off, and I'm like, all right, who wants to eat all the foods? Let's go.
Right. Right.
I despise
I
myself.
I use the scale as so many different things. I'm trying to cut back on it because I use it as like a punishment. I use it as a prize. I have an unhealthy relationship with my scale. How I go about it,
Yeah.
like there's been times where I'm like, man, I'm really hungry. I hop on the scale. I'm like, oh, I can eat. Or, I ate real nasty over the weekend, and then I hop on the scale and I'm like, oh, you're so pathetic. You put on 3 pounds. So I'm trying to distance myself from the scale because I use it in a really bad way.
Okay, so here's one thing that I still do. I know my body well enough now. So I know, like right now in the Gulf Coast, it's crawfish season, right? So that means on any given weekend, I'll go to a crawfish boil. I'll eat pounds of crawfish. I will drink copious amounts of beer, and then I'll weigh myself Monday morning, and I'll be absolutely disgusted by myself. And then my goal is, and this is what usually happens by Thursday. If I go have fun Saturday or Sunday or both, whatever, by Thursday, I'm back to where I need to be or back to where I want to be. Right. And that's just, I know it because I've been so consistent with everything I do. One day will just, I mean, I might gain like 8 or 9, 10 pounds in a day, but it's only because I'm introducing all this foreign food into my diet and into my body that day. And usually it's absolutely delicious. It's rich in sodium, and there's a lot of beer going on too. But I know that once I drink a ton of water and I flush it all out, I hop back on the bike, I start eating cleaner again. Literally every time by Thursday, I'm where I need to be, and then I get back into a deficit, and I go from there. So I mean, I guess what I'm saying, Luke, is I mean, I've definitely been there where it's a torture device, and I beat myself up about having a good weekend. But then I get to the thing, I'm like, okay, how soon can I get back on track? Right. So if I'm off now, it's Sunday night. I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, use the restroom, weigh myself. I'm going to see how bad things are. And then I'm going to challenge myself by Thursday. Can I get this back to where I need it to be? That's just, I mean, I guess I'm like uber competitive that way. So
Right.
it's something to think about though. I mean, if that's something that might work for you.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of that, right? Because it's going to happen. We're human,
Right.
and a lot of people say food is fuel, right? And I really hate that. Like we're not cavemen anymore. Like
But
I don't enjoy my food.
We're not cavemen anymore, but our body still operates like that, right? That's why we shouldn't binge eat 3 meals a day. That's why a lot of people in the carnivore diet or a lot of people on intermittent fasting, it works because our bodies are really meant for you to wake up and for you to go eat what you kill, right? That's why we're hunter and gatherers, right? You might have some berries and this, that, and the other to carry with you. My dog's barking on your way to go kill a saber-toothed tiger or a buffalo or whatever it might be. But that's why those diets are so effective. But I agree, we're not cavemen, and I love cake and all the good, delicious things. But I think that for me, when I started adopting a different mindset, my dog is being very naughty. When I started looking at it that way, like, okay, like why are these diets effective? Why is this effective for a lot of people? And this, that, and the other. When I was doing all my research on different meal plans and what could possibly work best for me and be maximum efficiency, that's one thing that always stuck with me was that, genetically, we're not designed to sit in front of a computer for 18 hours a day and binge eat 3 times a day, right? We're made to get up and go. And that's when I first started doing the intermittent fasting. I was like, wow, I have all this energy and I feel great and I haven't eaten anything. It was very weird, very foreign to me because I wanted to like stop at like, every fast food joint I could see to grab like some kind of egg sandwich and a coffee.
That kind of leads into a little bit of the next question. That's a common one that I'm going to ask this question just because if you ask me, I'm going to go off on a whole spiel. So before we get to that whole spiel, how do you stop food cravings?
Well,
Don't
well, no, that's okay.
like.
So
I'm
no,
ready.
yeah, no, this is great. Because Corey, to your point, a lot of times food cravings are psychological and situational, right? Something happens and you want X, or you
Sometimes,
saw
yeah.
that TV. Yeah, you smelled something or you saw something that reminds you of something else, and you're like, damn, I really want that one thing that made me feel good that time. For me, and to Luke, yeah, you're correct. You can't, I think, purely stop those cravings. But again, I'll bring water into this. But for me, that's what worked. It was like, I have a huge sweet tooth. I want candy. I want chocolate. I want this, that, and that. I want a whole cake or a whole cheesecake, even though I don't eat cheesecake, just to your reference, Luke, from your episode. But for me, I was like, okay, I am probably dehydrated. I know myself well enough. Let me drink a bunch of water real quick and then wait. And I'd start a timer, right? 10 minutes, go. And then during that 10 minutes, I'd be chugging water and be like, okay, what, come on, Adam, we got to break this cycle. What else can we have? What can we have? And that's why I got in the habit of having protein bars everywhere, just so I had that quick fix for something sweet that I knew that would get me past that. Or I also had a Mentos sugar-free gum everywhere too. That helped me quit smoking as well. But well, Luke, what were you gonna say? Or did you freeze?
Well, for me, like craving wise, it's um I crave food, right? But it's not. It's more like, man, I could go for a cheeseburger right now, but I don't like go nuts over it. What I crave is binging. I crave overeating. I love that.
Really?
So that's what it is. I don't care what it is. If it's, rice, bananas, lettuce, I just want to eat more than I need to. That's my problem. Oh, bless you.
Thank you. I used the mute button this time, so I'm improving. All right.
See,
I'm going to
that's the
open
thing.
up.
All right, Corey, you're itching. Go.
Okay. So, how do you stop food craves? I'm going to start by yesterday. I got a text from a neighbor that they're having a housewarming party. They are going to be playing the Bristol dirt track races, and everybody's coming over. They have smoked pork butt and the whole list. You guys know the whole thing. Don't worry about bringing any beer or liquor. I'll supply it all for you. This was my text that I got. So, free invite for a complete binge. First thing I did, and I think that mentally you can curve food cravings, but there's two kinds of food cravings. One, you have that mental one. Two, you also have that your body actually needs something and you need to answer that. Sometimes it's more than just psychological or more than just a trauma thing that we've talked about in the past and stuff. Sometimes it is your body actually needs something. So this is what I did. As soon as I got that text and I made the decision, I'm going to go over there, I drank probably at least 90 ounces of water. Okay. And then for dinner, we had cabbage steaks because they wanted us to come over in the afternoon. Said, nope, I'm going to wait until this time here. I wanted to wait until I got into my intermittent fasting window because I built that habit that for some reason now I can fight things off better that way. Don't know why, but it's just I've built that habit. And if
You're
it's
keeping
after
to your
6,
schedule.
yeah, if it's after 6 p.m., for some reason I have more willpower. There's something to it. But so for dinner, we had cabbage steaks. And I mean, they were that big, two of them. And we had sauteed mushrooms and bell peppers and onions and just literally a mound on my plate that big of just solid veggies. We're talking 2.5, 3 pounds of veggies. I don't know what the calories was on it. I wasn't worried about the calories. I stuffed myself to where I didn't want any more because I knew that if I'm full of things that are completely acceptable, I'm good. We went over and I bet you we stayed 3.5, 4 hours before I started getting that little ting of things. And it was more of damn, everybody's getting a fresh beer and asking me almost every time, you want one? No, I'm good. After a little while, that did start wearing on me a bit. But the food, it didn't bother me anywhere near what I thought it would. So to answer the question, how do you stop food cravings? One, you have to be mentally prepared. You have to know why you're having that craving. If it's a craving of, a mental craving or something like that, or if it's an actual, your body needs something, so it's craving it. Your body will search out, you will become automatically hungry if you're searching out certain foods. Has anybody ever seen a dog chew on a rock?
Yeah.
Have you? Okay. Adam, have
Well,
you ever
my
seen a
dog
dog
used to
chew
play
on a
with
rock?
rocks.
I have to think if I was sober or not. I'll just say yes.
Okay. The first time I seen my dog chewing on a rock, I thought, well, that's dumb. And he kept wanting to chew on rocks. And he has this thing of wanting to chew on rocks. Finally, we asked the vet, why in the hell is this dog chewing on rocks? I mean, he's constantly chewing on him. Oh, he's deficient in minerals. You need to get him more minerals.
I'll get him a salt lick.
Yeah, he was trying to get more minerals in.
Wow.
We still have that natural desire at some point in time when we're craving things. Granted, that rock is not going to satisfy that dog at all. It's not anything that he wants to eat. It's going to do damage to his teeth. It's going to do damage to him. My dog's throwing up rocks because he decided he was going to eat that bastard. It's going to tear up his esophagus. The same thing happens with us. When we are not getting the nutrition that we need, we get hungry. And sometimes we don't know what we're hungry for, but learning that is a necessity. So cravings can come from two different directions, and you got to figure out why and where that's coming from.
Yeah, that is 100% correct, sir.
Woo! I got an A.
No, I mean, we all have different spins on it. It's like, and that's what's helpful about these chats is what I'm never going to stop learning about it, and I think that every lens we look through about this and about what we do and how we think about it is different. But you're 100% right. I mean, and I've mentioned before, like having like a ribeye for breakfast and a half an avocado and coffee. I mean, that's when I know when I'm a certain point of sluggish and I'm in a protein deficiency, I'll go do that for me and I feel great. And it turns me around. And it's now half the process is, is cooking it and everything that goes into it, but it's really, really good. And to the point you made earlier, Luke, about wanting the binge and having that feeling of binging. I binge eat. I probably had, I wouldn't necessarily call it a binge, but I intentionally overate this past week of spring break for us. So it was over this past week. And I forgot what I was making, but it was so good. I was like, I'm just gonna keep eating this because I'm like, I biked 20 miles this morning. I've been real active with the kids, blah, blah, blah. And then I felt like bloated and disgusting. And the next morning I felt bloated and disgusting. It wasn't until like the next morning where I finally felt normal again. And I was like, man, I used to live in that as a constant state. Like I used to, and hopefully one day, man, you can get past that wanting to feel that way, because I'm not gonna lie, it was so delicious, but it wasn't worth it. But I think that's where I'm at in my journey, is that I'm starting to realize that it's like, man, half the time, like my son is in a cookie phase. He wants to, if he eats all his dinner, he wants to have a cookie, right? And I'm like, man, I want some cookies too. No, I want some ice cream. You know what? I'm gonna have ice cream and cookies mixed up in the bowl with some Cool Whip on top, and maybe some like marshmallows on top of that. But I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And I'll walk by. I'll just walk by I'll go there to make it, and I'll just keep walking and to that corner, go back in the living room. And it's so hard. Like every night, I have this battle with myself about that. And every night, I mean, we've got all the stuff. I could easily make it, but it's just to this point, it's not worth it to me. Like when I get up tomorrow morning at 4 to go on my bike ride, I'm gonna feel like absolute crap. And chances are I'm gonna have to stop halfway through it because I've got to poop.
Yeah. Yep.
and I don't want to have to do that either. So it's one of those things for me now. It's like, I don't know. I'm thinking about it all the time, and it's just as much as I want it, I don't. I mean, I had ice cream the other night for the first time in a long time, and I completely passed out on the couch from the sugar crash.
Here's a little thing I learned. You take bananas and you freeze them.
Yeah.
And then you pull them out and mash them up and, throw whatever in it. And it's like ice cream. I think
Yep.
it tastes awesome. I love it.
You should dust them with some protein powder, man. Some chocolate protein powder.
Right.
Yep,
We
absolutely.
need to do an episode on food, on just like meals and tips and tricks.
The best way to make that
a
is
bunch
with
of fat guys talking about food.
yeah. Best way to make that is with a juicer. Some juicers make sorbets
What do you say, Corey?
the best. Yeah, you can just drop it right in, feeds it through. So some bananas, some blueberries, some whatever. You can throw some walnuts in there.
Avocado.
Oh, yeah. Cocoa. You can do cocoa powder. I mean, straight dark cocoa powder. But
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing for me. I used to like just I have a chocolate whey protein. I would shake some of that on like oatmeal, on oats, or stuff like that. What you're talking about? If I want a banana, and my wife is a big on, again, Midwestern girl. I mean, we have a lot of casseroles and stuff like that, and a lot of times it's served with bananas with powdered sugar. And you take that, and instead of powdered sugar, throw a little chocolate protein on it. You have your chocolate bananas, but yeah, I definitely need to try that banana ice cream trick.
absolutely. Yeah, it's
It
worth
gets
it.
that craving of if you want, ice cream.
What's the taste
Your
and the
brain, you're
texture
eating ice
craving
cream.
too?
It backs
Yeah.
that texture and taste. So what's our
It's the
next
truth,
question?
Man. Oh, and I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
So how
cutting carbs.
Cutting carbs?
Cutting carbs can be unhealthy. I know that
Lies.
cutting carbs is unhealthy, but all my friends are losing weight by doing it. Why shouldn't I?
Lots of reasons why you shouldn't cut carbs. Oh my goodness, that's a whole scientific thing there. The reason why people say to cut carbs is ketosis, is they want to get into a ketogenic state where your body is burning fat. The problems with trying to trick yourself in that, and this is going to open up a bag of worms bad because keto people hate. Yeah. Anyways, when you do that, you're tricking your body in, and it is effective. Okay, let's get that out of the way. You will lose weight with it, but by doing so, you also start stalling and stopping other functions on a cellular level that the swing off of that is terrible. And you can only do it so long, so much before things don't work. And you have to be exactly in line with everything for it to work. The keto diet is one of the best sales pitches in the world because you have to walk a very fine line to stay 100% effective with it. If you bounce too far out of that guideline, you directly fall out of ketosis. And then, it takes a little bit to get back into it and everything. The funny thing is, the quickest, most effective way to get your body into ketosis is fasting. At about the 12-hour mark, your body naturally goes into ketosis. So in between that 12 and 16-hour mark in a day, your body will actually be in a better, more effective ketogenic state than what you could be if you ate a keto style diet for a solid 24 hours. In fact, it'd probably take you closer to 3 days of a ketogenic diet to get to a state that you can get to just by not eating for in between that 12 and 16-hour window of not eating. One of the effective ways. Carbs also fuel, as food is fuel, just for you there, Luke.
No, but I think the point is, like, cutting carbs is good, especially I think so many people have a high bread diet. I think people, when they cut carbs, they're thinking about, I can't eat anything. It's like, you should not have bread at every single meal, and then
right.
cut back in your carbs.
That goes back to, I think I need to clarify that. You're right. You're 100% right. There's two different carbs. The easiest way to think of it is whole food carbs and processed food carbs. Processed food carbs like your breads and stuff. The bread is already broke down. It's milled down, where I hit on earlier about how smoothies and stuff, how it digests and everything. The same thing happens with bread. That flour is already broke down. So
All
if
the
you take,
sugar.
yeah, it turns to sugar faster, just a direct thing. Whereas if you took the
Well, and
whole
there's
grain of wheat and tried eating it, your body will slowly break some of that down, and what it doesn't break down goes out the other end. So you only get so many of those calories.
right, and
So
so many processed foods like white bread or whatever bread you use generally have such a high sugar content as well. It's bad for you in many ways. Um, just like celery is great for you, even though the celery has zero caloric value. It's great because your body works so hard to break it down. But like white bread's horrible for you because it's got so much sugar in you and so much processed everything. And I think that's what the cutting carbs piece, people get caught up on it, right? It's like you don't have to cut out all your carbs, just the bad carbs. I mean, it's better to say cut out as much processed foods as you can.
right, absolutely. Yeah, because if you look at it, celery is a carb, but you
True.
can't get fat on it. I mean, you could eat celery all day long, every single day, until you are just got celery coming out your ears, and you're not going to get fat on it. You can't eat enough celery to even sustain. I think you would die eventually if you tried eating just celery. You would starve to death almost.
I wonder if you can get drunk off of it.
Well, I mean, if you ferment it, a little bit of yeast, a
No,
little
I'm
bit of
like, I was
I'll
joking.
give it a
You
shot.
know, I mean, yeah, well, I mean, like if you drink enough water, I mean, you get the sensation of being drunk. I think what it is. You have to drink an absolute shit ton of water, but I think the same thing with celery. You can probably get drunk off it.
oh, maybe. I mean, but yeah. So there's certain carbs, and some need broken down, but I think the word is too many people villainize carbs when so many carbs are necessary for your energy levels, for a foundation of building things and activities. You look at any cyclist that is a long endurance cyclist, they're loading their carbs. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't want to cut all your carbs out. You want to be wise on your carb choices, but there's a point to where you need to have them. And that's one thing that always triggers me, is how much poor educated propaganda there is on food itself today. It's just a whole bunch of open windows of people shoveling shit.
Well,
Well,
that
that's the
leads
truth.
into a whole other topic with I think we brought it up in our group chat that we're in. Like what diet works for me. That's like me jumping out and saying this miracle diet, but this diet might not work for you, Corey, or might not work for you, Adam. It's one size. It's not a one size fits all on all the different diets. So that's where it comes from. Is it worked for me and it worked for my wife and it worked for my friend. So let's push it out there because it's the best way to lose weight, and that's why there's
Right.
so much of the different styles out there.
Well, that's just anything else.
For
I
the
mean,
most part.
everyone wants that magic pill. Everyone wants someone to tell them how to do this, so they don't have to think about it. They don't have to do all the hard work, and that's a lot of it, man. You got to figure out what's truly going to work for you. I mean,
Well, and I think there's a bit more to it, on the fact that a lot of times we get caught up on that one goal of just losing weight. What about the goal of extending a healthy life?
right.
Not
Yeah.
just losing weight. Losing weight's, one thing, but if your goal is, I want to live another 30 years, but I want to live another 30 years in a healthy, active way, what does that diet look like? What's that nutritional look like? Because you know what? To live that way, you're not going to be fat, but what's it going to take to be in that window of I want a high quality life? When somebody goes, how old is he? He's like 75 and he's still doing that. Yeah. I want to try to get there. I've abused my body in a lot of ways. I don't know if I will, but I know if I didn't start yesterday, I have less of a chance to be there tomorrow.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and that's kind of my take on it too. I mean, like according to BMI, still at my current weight, even though my physical comes back and says everything's in range and you're medically healthy, my BMI still says I died like 20 years ago, right? Just because it's an antiquated thing. And I may not look like I'm the poster boy for men's health, but I guarantee I'm a lot healthier than a lot of those skinny fat people or people that appear to look healthy. They may look great, but then they're the ones out there that haven't had a physical and haven't seen their doctor in 10 or 20 years. And then they drop dead running their marathon because they've had all these issues they weren't taken care of. But that's
Yep.
just, I mean, that's a different soapbox to get on for sure.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it is, man. And that's just, I mean, yeah, it is.
Yep.
I'll just stop there.
So I think my biggest thing is on doing a segment like this, I think people need to realize that it's okay to ask these questions. It's good to ask these kinds of questions. It's good to, look for this information. It's too bad that there's so much misinformation out there for answers because everybody's always trying to angle it of, hey, I can lead you into selling you my product because you're looking for this answer.
Yeah.
That's one of the downsides to, when you're hunting for it. At least that's what I always found is, out of 20 answers I may have found on one particular question, 19 of them, I'm focusing all over the place. 19 of them were leading me to buy now. Wow.
Yeah.
My camera's drunk.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I mean, I know that, that's 100%. Like anytime someone, I get a lot of, just like you guys both do, people come to you and ask you a lot of questions and they want to approach you about this, that, and the other. And it's like, okay, do you really want help? Or are you trying to sell me something? That's always my approach. I mean, is that really it?
Oh, yeah.
Or, and even with the different groups that I help moderate and people, especially the one that we all met at, I guess I'm now the guy everyone comes to when they want to go pimp their shit. But, but now it's the thing where I have people, they come to me, they say, hey, look, I've written this. I want to share it with a group free, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, well then share it free. Don't have a click here, put your information and I'll send it to you.
Right.
No, don't. I'm like, no, you can't do that. Or like, it's just put in, you donate if you can. No. If you want to help people for free. And if they like your style, if they like your approach, then they're going to come to you and say, hey man, thanks so much for this free help you've been giving. And you've been contributing all this positive content. I've learned so much from you. Can I hire you on as a coach or a diet coach or just a life coach, whatever it may be. And I guess gets back to last week's topic, right? We have our stimulus check. Let's spend it on something smart. And that's how it is. I absolutely detest it. Just like Corey, that one dude that you absolutely hate, that pops up in like every damn video on YouTube I see. Yeah, a dick. It's like, look, guy, if your video starts with you with a shirt off at a beach somewhere, you can just go pound sand because I'm not buying that shit. I mean, yeah. Look, don't show me that. Don't show me that. Show me like, all the fat pictures and show me your stretch marks, and then we can talk, man. And show me your jacked up mental health and you went through this therapy. Talk to me about that first, and then I might buy your product. But I'm not going to buy it if the first.
That's one big issue with the health world, like the fitness world, is all these coaches. I say coach is a vague term anymore, but they're trying to sell you that false hope. Like, come to me and I can make you look like this. And yeah, like we've talked about over and over in the group, like, how many messages have I gotten? Like, especially with my Instagram on my podcast page, I'm getting probably 3 or 4 messages a day from these fitness fanatics, like, hey, how are you doing? You're doing great. I can help you do better. Just sign up here for, $59.99 a week or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I mean, it's just,
I always have fun with those people because yes, I'm overweight. Yes, I struggle with things, but fortunately I have a pretty darn good knowledge base. So I always have fun. And if I can get somebody actually talking face to face, I reel them in a little while and then, lay a little bit of facts and education on their ass. And
Yeah.
usually doesn't take long to be able to call them a, fraud to their
Well,
face.
that's just it. I mean, just because I'm a fat guy or a chubby guy doesn't mean I'm not well read and I know the research, right? Just because you're the kid from high school that was 120 pounds and put on 20 pounds of muscle and super jacked, and you got your online accreditation because you read a book and took a test. I don't care. Yeah, great. You can do a bunch of sit-ups and pull-ups and shit in the gym. Yeah, I can go lift a lot of heavy ass weights too, man. Doesn't mean you have good genetics and you were skinny and you put on a little bit of weight. Go gain 200 or 300 pounds and live in darkness mentally for a while, and then try and pull your own head out of your own ass, and then we can talk about it. But
right.
that could be our
multiple
topic for next week.
Right. What's the topic for next week? Might as well get it figured out now.
How do you pull your head?
Well, I was gonna make a point. I was gonna make a point of that before we ended this.
Yeah.
How we usually come up with our idea for our episode, usually the day before we go live. So if anybody hears this or sees this and has an idea, shoot it our way. We'd love to talk about it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's kind of what our platform's supposed to all be about. We don't want it to be just about us. We'd really like it to be a complete community of people. And anytime you have a question or anything like that, or even if an issue, especially a topic that's big enough to open up an entire forum, we're willing to crack it open. We're all willing to, at least put our own 2 cents in, and I'm willing to do as much studying and education on topics. So if you have something that I don't know about, I'm going to go read up on it. I'm going to go learn for a while. So if you want to put me to work, now's your chance. What do you got?
I like it.
Do we have any more questions, or are we going to wrap her up?
Let's wrap it up.
All righty. Well, again, we appreciate everybody watching. We really do. We hope you get some value out of this. That's our entire intent and purpose, is for everybody to get value. We'd appreciate it if you join us on Trimming the Fat Facebook page. There should be a link below if you're watching this on YouTube. You may be watching this live on Facebook. Your feedback and communication is, greatly appreciated, and we will use that 100%. We definitely want to reach a community on what their needs are, not just what our own needs are. So if you have something, feel free to bring it up. If you don't want to put it in a public forum, a public topic, if you're on Facebook, you can private message me. I'm sure the other guys probably wouldn't mind that either. So
Yep.
With that, we appreciate you watching. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, a comment, anything, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.